Hi everybody, this is just my video explaining my experiences with religion, both pagan and non-pagan, how I grew up, where religion led me, and basically just to explain where the hell I'm coming from with all of this stuff.
So I was raised Christian, Protestant, United Christian, and I was in a very welcoming, open, liberal family. Um, and we went to church now and then, but honestly, we were the non-practicing Christian type of people. I was always the type of kid that was interested in God and looking for God in my life. And I always felt like there was a hole there because I personally never had any sort of strict religious upbringing, which I think in a way is good because that way it gave me total freedom to find what I really truly liked. Now, when I started searching, I was around 13 and I had not really ever felt Christian, but especially then, I thought the whole Jesus being the Son of God thing was absolutely ridiculous, and I couldn't believe that at that time because I was young and confused, and you know how kids are. So it just so happens I was at the library because I read a lot as a kid, and I think I just stopped reading as a teenager because I just was done. I had read almost so many things. I was just tired of reading, but I was at the library and I found a book about Wicca, and I'm not exactly which witchcraft book was my first one. Um, when I was a little bit younger, my first witchcraft book was some scary hoodoo magic thing that I had found in the dark spot of the library, and the only thing I remember of it was a picture of a high priest with a goat on his head, and that was terrifying. Um, so that wasn't, I won't consider that my true witchcraft book because I don't know any people who do those kinds of things. Um, but my first witchcraft book that I can remember the name of was Teen Witch by Silver Ravenwolf. And I know she's kind of has friends and enemies in the YouTube land, but I don't think she's too bad. I do understand people's opinions, but really, she's what introduced me to witchcraft, and she's what got me um, wanting to learn more and getting interested in it because she just writes well for that particular age group. I read a bunch of books in between there, including Silver Ravenwolf's how to the Silver Broomstick one. But the other book that stands out the most to me that didn't play with your teenage desires to spend all sorts of money on crazy stuff was definitely Scott Cunningham's Guide for the Solitary Practitioner. It's still a book that I use so much. I think it's so useful. And I use that with also still Silver Rainwolf's Book of Shadows guide because that's amazing too. It's just a great little encyclopedia. So anyway, my parents were totally accepting during this whole process of finding myself and finding witchcraft, and they did the holidays with me and the Sabbats, and everything was great. And through that experience, I also learned a lot about my family and our personal history in witchcraft, and it does run in my mom's dad's side. My grandpa, I have a many great aunts that was actually burned at the stake, and there are practicing British witches in my family, but I actually do not have any alive witches that I know of anymore. Um, it's something that kind of just unfortunately did die out in my family. I suppose you could say I had my own fair share of hatred because I grew up in a small town and people were not very accepting of it at all. When they found out a lot of my friends stopped being my friends, they're my friends now, but again, we were all 13, 14 years old, and I faced a lot of negativity. And I think that's one of the reasons I kind of relapsed and stopped practicing because I was young and easily swayed by peer pressure, as ashamed as I am of saying something like that, you know. By the way, that's me in the top left corner with the black lipstick, because I was so cool in grade 9. Anyway, so I spent pretty much all of the end of grade 9 up until grade 12 and even into my first year of college completely agnostic. I chose not to follow a religion. Um, I still believed very much in God and especially in its ties to nature, but I saw religion as being very negative because of my experiences, and I decided that religion was something that made people hate each other. So I just chose not to partake in any specific religion to save myself any sort of pain. So actually, into my second year of college, which is about a year ago, I did become Muslim, and that requires an entire separate video, or else you guys are going to be watching a feature film length YouTube video if I would carry on about something like that right now. Um, and but I do want to say it was an incredibly positive change that I did make in my life, and I don't regret any of it whatsoever. I think it did change me to be a much better person, a much more peaceful, um, liberal in a way, understanding person. It just It was not for me. It required too much um, strict dedication that someone of my craziness cannot at this time in their life commit to. So it was actually my respect for the religion that made me leave it, as strange as that sounds. But again, I'm not going to get into that because that does require its own video altogether. So I found myself again taking the long way around. I guess you can say I kind of went Wittershins, haha. But I did finally decide that this is the right path for me and what I always loved. And it is honoring my ancestors and really being true to who I am and who my family is. And it's a hell of a lot of fun, to be honest. I mean, who doesn't like casting circles and running around a fire just to be stereotypical? Um, it is a lot of fun, and that's what I like to do. Right now, I consider myself solitary, but I am also going to what they have in Toronto, and it's called the Wiccan Church of Canada, the Udician tradition. It started in the 70s, and it's a very strongly knit community in Toronto, and they call themselves a church, not a coven. I'm not really sure why. So I am currently attending their classes and their rituals to expand my personal knowledge and maybe find a group that I can practice in and be comfortable with so I don't have to do it all alone. So that was just a brief overview of my story. Again, like I said, I will be doing more videos to go in depth with uh, things that need more explanation. But I also apologize for the cheap video, but my camera's not working right now, so we're just gonna have to deal with some fabulous moving Google pictures. Anyway, thank you so much again, and I'll see you all later in my altar video.